Welcome to Vietnam True Crime. This is where we share real criminal cases that happened in Vietnam. Vietnam is known for its peace and safety, but like any society, it still has its darker side and stories worth reflecting on. Everything you hear here is based on the truth, nothing but the truth. For the sake of international viewers, the full names of both perpetrators and victims have been altered, but the essence of the story remains unchanged.
It started with a chilling silence. A guest, trapped behind a locked iron gate on the second floor, called out repeatedly for the landlady to let him out, but there was no answer. Desperate to leave, the guest was forced to climb down the back of the building to reach the front entrance. But when he stepped through the front door, frustration turned to horror. Inside, amidst a scene of chaos, he discovered the body of the landlady. She had been brutally murdered. The crime took place in the quiet commune of Minh Khai in the Thai Binh province exactly 15 years ago. The victim was a woman we will call Mrs. Gloria, born in 1962, the owner of the Ngoc Gioi Motel. She was killed inside the very establishment she ran. According to the cold case files, on the evening of January 8, 2011, a man named Henry arrived with his girlfriend to rent a room for the night. Mrs. Gloria assigned them a room on the second floor. The motel had a specific security measure, an iron gate separating the first floor from the second. Every night, the landlady would lock this gate, only opening it the following morning. On the morning of January 9, 2011, Henry and his girlfriend woke up ready to leave. They called down to Mrs. Gloria to unlock the gate, but the house remained silent. With no other option, Henry climbed down from the rear of the building and circled back to the front entrance. To his surprise, the main door was unlocked. Henry pushed it open and stepped inside, only to be greeted by blood spatter. Pushing further into the gloom, he found the woman lying dead in room 116, just near the entrance. Local police, in coordination with provincial forensic units, immediately descended on the scene to conduct an autopsy and secure evidence. The victim was identified as Mrs. Gloria. Initial forensics revealed a violent end. She had been stabbed 9 times, with fatal wounds to the heart and abdomen. But the killer hadn't stopped there. A phone charging cable was found wrapped tightly around her neck. The crime scene told the story of a frantic search. The room had been ransacked. Strangely, the key was still inserted in the victim's safe, yet the safe remained unopened. However, a Honda Airblade scooter, a gold necklace, a gold ring, and a mobile phone were missing. Based on the autopsy, the time of death was estimated between 11 p.m. and midnight on January 8th. Combining the physical evidence with witness statements, investigators classified this as a homicide robbery. Detectives began scrubbing through the victim's connections. They cast a wide net, targeting individuals with records of theft, gambling, drug addiction, or those with unexplained gaps in their alibis. The first suspect to emerge was Liam, born in 1985, a former employee of the motel. Records showed that at 11 p.m. on the night of the murder, Liam had made the final call to the victim's phone. When brought in for questioning, Liam shocked investigators. He confessed. He claimed he had killed Mrs. Gloria to rob her, even describing the sequence of events. However, seasoned detectives noticed cracks in his story. His details contradicted the forensic evidence. Under intense interrogation and faced with undeniable logic, Liam's story fell apart. He finally admitted the twisted truth. He had fabricated the entire confession. He hadn't killed anyone. He simply wanted the notoriety. He wanted people to know his name. With Liam ruled out as a glory hound, the task force refocused. They turned their attention to the transient nature of a motel's clientele. By January 28, 2011, after weeks of gathering intelligence and piecing together the timeline, investigators zeroed in on their prime suspects, a couple who had checked into the Ngoc Gioi Motel on that fatal night.
With the false lead of Liam cleared, investigators knew the real killer was still out there. buying time with every passing hour. The Thai Binh police force launched a cross-country manhunt that would stretch through the country's most significant holiday. By January 28, 2011, days before the Lunar New Year, detectives sifted through the remaining evidence and identified a new prime suspect. His name was Lucas, born in 1985. Lucas was a man with a complicated history. Originally a local, his family had moved south to the rugged Central Highlands province of Kon Tum to work the land, before Lucas eventually drifted back north. But he wasn't alone. Intelligence suggested he was on the run with his girlfriend, a woman we will call Ursula, born in 1990. At 1 a.m. on January 31st, just as families were preparing for the New Year festivities, the task force pinpointed the couple's location. They had fled back to the Central Highlands. A specialized team of 5 detectives immediately mobilized, sacrificing their holiday to pursue the suspects over 800 kilometers away. By New Year's Eve, February 2nd, the team traced Lucas's network to the Doc Ha district. A second tactical team was dispatched to reinforce the capture. When the second team arrived in the Central Highlands, it was already noon on the first day of the Lunar New Year. The atmosphere was festive, but the detectives were laser-focused. They located Lucas hiding in an acquaintance's house nestled in a valley. The terrain was difficult. Backed by dense jungle, a direct raid carried a high risk of the suspect escaping into the tree line. Police devised a psychological game. They had to lure Lucas out of the stronghold. The trap was sprung on February 4th, the second day of the new year. At 1 p.m., Lucas was ambushed and arrested. In his possession was a damning piece of evidence, Mrs. Gloria's stolen mobile phone. Shortly after, Ursula was also taken into custody. Under interrogation, the dark roadmap of the crime was revealed. Lucas and Ursula had met in their hometown and worked together in a coastal province. On the night of January 8th, they took a bus back to the town, checking into Gloria's motel with a sinister plan already formed. They were there to steal. They strategically rented room 117, located directly next to the landlady's room 116. Lucas admitted that while moving through the motel, he spotted a Thai fruit knife left on a sales counter. He pocketed it. At 11 p.m., seeing that Mrs. Gloria was alone in her room, Lucas made his move. He stormed the room, stabbing the landlady repeatedly. As Mrs. Gloria collapsed, struggling and crying for help, Lucas reached for a nearby phone charging cable. He wrapped it around her neck, strangling her until she went still. With the murder complete, the robbery began. Lucas ransacked the room. He attempted to crack the safe, but failed. Instead, he grabbed jewelry and the victim's phone. The couple then stole Mrs. Gloria's motorbike and fled into the night. Upon reaching a ferry crossing at the Tra Li River, panic set in. Fearing the motorbike would be easily identified, Lucas drove the vehicle into the river to destroy the evidence before vanishing with Ursula. The verdict. The law was absolute. For his brutal crimes, Lucas was sentenced to death for murder, with an additional 6 years for robbery. Ursula, for her role in aiding the killer and concealing the crime, was sentenced to 6 years in prison.
Thank you for spending your time with us on Vietnam True Crime. If you're interested in this series, please like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest episodes.